Hello and welcome to this video. I'll be showing you how to integrate Salesforce with GitHub using the Exalate app. So yeah, let's get started. So here we are at the documentation page for Exalate, which is the starting point. So Exalate is a completely decentralized app which can help you integrate apps like Salesforce and GitHub. So in order to do that, you can come down to this page where you can see this, which platforms do you want to sync. You can just click on GitHub and Salesforce and you can get a tutorial for that. So the first two steps are basically just the installation of the app on each side. You can just click on the start button here and it would give you all the details that you need for the installation part. So you have two options here. Either you install it directly from the GitHub marketplace or you can even install it on Docker. So there are links given here and there are video tutorials at the very end which you can just refer. So it might take you a couple of minutes to set this up on each side. Similarly, on the Salesforce side, you can install it from the App Exchange marketplace. And okay, so I have two environments here. One of them is a Salesforce environment, and the other one is GitHub environment. On both of these side, Exalate is already installed. So the first step is how you access the app. You can just click on the three dots here, type in Exalate, and you would find it under the apps menu. And this is how the interface would look like. Similarly, on the GitHub side, we give you a node which can be directly accessible. You just need to log into the node, and there you go. So let's create a connection. Let's get started. So on each side, you would see these two buttons: initiate connection and accept invitation. The idea here is that any one side can start the connection, initiate it, and the other side needs to accept it. So once we initiate the connection, it asks us for destination instance URL. So what we need to do is we just need to put this URL, copy it, and paste it here in the destination. Once we do this, it will give a pop-up saying exit found on the destination. This means that you're ready to go. Now we have two modes here, the basic mode and the script mode. So with the basic mode, you can only synchronize case objects. But the thing is that with the script mode, you can synchronize whatever objects you want to synchronize, like for example, opportunities, accounts, contacts, even custom objects are possible. So basic mode is more of a plug and play. Like you can't change the rules inside that, and there are pre fields that are fixed. Like for example, the title of the ticket, the description, comments, and stuff. So you can do all these synchronizations with the basic mode. However, if you want to synchronize custom fields and other information, you can choose the script mode. So all right, let's get started. Let's see how the basic mode works. So you click on the next button. Now you have two options here. Either you say you have admin access to the other system or you don't. Either ways would work fine. So we choose on I don't have admin access. I initiate the connection. Now what would happen is that I would be getting an invitation code. So I'll just copy this invitation code, click on the done button. And now you see the connection is pending. So we go to the other side. We go to the GitHub side. We just click on accept invitation. We just copy this, paste this code. We click on the next button and we need to select one repository here to get started with. So one another benefit for the script mode is that you can choose to synchronize your Salesforce cases with multiple GitHub repositories. So that's an added benefit. Now let's just choose this one to get started and let's confirm the connection. So that is how the connection would get established. Now what we can do is we can just start our synchronization. So either way should work, from Salesforce to GitHub or GitHub to Salesforce. You can even automate the ticket creation using triggers, and that's something that we're gonna see how that would work as well. So let's get started with by creating a basic case object. So let's give it some details. Uh, a new Salesforce case. This case would sync to GitHub. Let's save this. Awesome. So as you can see here on the right side, there is an Exalate panel which shows you the status of synchronization. You can just click on the Exalate button to manually synchronize this over to GitHub. We'll choose the right connection, which is this one, and we'll execute it. Once you click this button, you would see that there are changes happening here. Within a couple of seconds, you should get the link once it's successful and created. On the GitHub side, you would see a link to the GitHub site. Let's refresh the page. Awesome. So the status of the ticket is now synchronized, and you see this link. So this 117 that you see here, that is the GitHub issue number that has been linked with. You can simply open it up here. It's a hyperlink. So this is how the GitHub issue would look like. Now anything here within these fields that I just mentioned is fully bidirectional. So you can add comments here on the GitHub side, and that would again synchronize back to the Salesforce instance. So let's say comment added from GitHub. This will now sync to Salesforce. Now we comment this. So once we do this, this should automatically be picked up now. So once the tickets are linked, we don't need any manual operation or any clicking of buttons in between. It's fully seamless. So this should get picked up, and now once we go back, let's refresh the page here, and we should see that the comment is here. So this is how the integration would work. So it shows you the name or the username of the person. This is where I am logged in from my GitHub account, and after that it just gives you the comment as it is. So this is like the default behavior. This can be changed via scripting, but that will be covered in the script mode. So yeah, basically this is how it would work. This is more of a very out of the box, or let's say a plug and play solution with Exalate. Now, the interesting thing would be the script mode here, because there are a lot of possibilities to synchronize. You can synchronize, as I mentioned, accounts, contacts within that, and opportunities, other custom objects as well can be synchronized. So let's create that connection. Yeah, by the way, this is how it would look like. Now let's start with a new connection. So I again and the connection process can go either way around. So it doesn't really matter if you start from the GitHub side or the Salesforce side. You just need the right destination address, and you can choose the mode. So let's again initiate the connection. We put the destination uh, instance URL as the cloud node URL. We put this. This time we'll choose the script option here. So the idea in the script is that you get each side gets outgoing and incoming sync scripts, so that you can independently control what information needs to be shared and received on each side. So you can put in your fields information there, and you can choose what type of object needs to synchronize from Salesforce. So all that can be pretty much controlled per connection. So let's get started. We put the script here, click on the next button. Here we can just put some information for the local instance as Salesforce, and the remote instance can be GitHub, for example. So this becomes the connection name. It should be unique, so you can't have multiple connections with the same name. You can put in a description as well, that is optional. We initiate the connection. We get again an option to copy the invite code this time. So this is fully decentralized mode. If you see, you don't get the option of the admin access, because this is like fully decentralized. You copy the invite code, you click on the done button again, and there's your connection created. It's again pending. So we go to the other side, we accept the invitation, we again paste the same code here, click on the next button, and we select the repository again to get started with, and we confirm the connection. Awesome. So the connection is now established, and once we click on this green button, you would be able to see the sync rules, which is like this. So outgoing and incoming on each side. Let's go back here. Let's refresh the page. and you would again see that the connection is active. And once we edit the connection, you would see a similar setup here as well, the outgoing and incoming rules. So these rules pretty much define what information goes out from a system and how it comes into the system. So the let's say take an example. So if we expand the outgoing sync here, and if I just expand the scripts, now it would be readable. So if you see here, there's a line which says if the entity type is case, so by default the case object is included within the scripts. Similarly, you can customize it, make your own conditions, you can write your own rules here. That's the best part, to choose what type, what object you want to synchronize, and the information within that object as well. So all these are pretty much fields from Salesforce. The right side part is most, it's more of the field itself, and the left side part is just a variable, or let's say a placeholder. So uh, in this case, what's happening is the subject, the description, the comments, everything is getting wrapped in a replica variable. Now this part is ideally getting shared with the other system, which is GitHub in this case. So the subject gets copied over to replica.summary, and this comes in the incoming sync of GitHub whenever a transaction runs. All right. So whenever the ticket is, or the GitHub issue is getting created for the very first time, that's when we select the repository, and all these are just fields that will get synced. So we'll come to the fields, other fields later on. Let me just comment out some lines which might not be relevant in our case, and let's publish it. So there's no restriction as such on what fields you can synchronize. So fields, user fields can be synced, fields like custom fields, including text, lists, uh, all these kind of fields can be synchronized as well. It all depends on what exactly needs to be done. And yeah, similarly, you have the outgoing, which sends information out from GitHub, and then it can come here in the incoming sync of the Salesforce side in a very similar way. So here we have the case object, which gets synchronized by default, and then yeah, obviously we can customize this. So yeah, again, let's get started. The other thing which I earlier talked about was creating tickets automatically. So this is what triggers do. Uh, it's simple to create a trigger. So let's click on create trigger, and you can just click on find more details for a complete documentation on how to create triggers. So you can do it for each system. So for example, if you want to create it on Salesforce, you have a proper documentation for Salesforce. It uses Salesforce object query language, and you can use this to synchronize any object automatically. So we would synchronize cases here. So I would be choosing the case object here. So let's choose case, and then either you use these UI filters or you use the search query. And let's put the condition on the status field. So let's say whenever the status field is moved to working, at that time we create a new GitHub issue. So let's say status equal to and then working, and let's activate the trigger and add it. So now let's create a new case and see what happens. So say new case in Salesforce, and which will sync automatically some description to the case. Let's save this. All right. So now, as you see, the status is not synchronized. We won't be clicking the Exalate button this time. Rather, what we would do is we would transition the status from new to working, and we save it. Once we do this, our trigger should pick this ticket up for synchronization. It just takes a couple of seconds to do this, and within a minute or so, you should see the issue created on the other side. Let's just refresh the page to see how it goes. And yeah, it's already done. So now the status is synchronized. You get a link again. Let me just change the here in that case 118, and there you go. That's the new case. So yeah, that's how the automatic ticket creation would work. We again give our comments added from the GitHub site. We comment this out, and again this would give a comment here on the Salesforce side. All right, now let's talk about customizing the rules itself a little bit. So as I mentioned that everything happens through the replica variable, we just need to identify the field that we want to synchronize. Let's say, for example, that we would like to synchronize the ticket number, which is 118, the GitHub issue number, to a custom field here on the Salesforce side. I've already created a custom field which is GitHub ID. So let's try to synchronize this to the GitHub ID field. What we need first of all is something that goes out from the outgoing sync. So in this case, we are lucky. We have this first line itself, which says issue.key equals replica.key. I'm just reading it right to left for reference. So we know that the replica.key parameter or the replica.key variable has the value 118. Okay. To verify this, we can do a lot of stuff. So if you go to the entity sync status here and we select the case object. So let's just select case here and we put in the case ID, which is this one, and we search it. So this also gives you the same connection box, but that there are two buttons here: show local replica and remote replica. So the remote replica would give you everything that GitHub is sending from the outgoing sync, right? So if you can see here, there is the key tag which has the value 118. Similarly, there are comments, summary, reporter, everything else is getting synchronized in the very same way, right? So what we need to do is we just go back. One more thing to mention is there could be different types of fields wherein it's easy to just get the value using the dot uh, parameter. You can use it's like a JSON based payload, so you can use all those things to traverse and find your own information within that. Okay, now let's go back to connections and let's edit the connection. Okay, now what we need to do is we need to write a logic in the incoming to handle the custom field. Now how we do that is we go to the new line, and if you see there is a custom fields block which is commented out. If you read it, it says to add incoming values to Salesforce, follow these steps. Find the field name of the custom field by going into fields and relationships. Check how the value is coming over from the source side by checking the entity sync status, which we just did, and then you can use this syntax to just use the custom field and set it. All right, now let's go to the fields and relationships as it mentioned. My bad. Let me go back here. Let's go to setup. Let's go to object manager. Let's go to our object, which is case. Let's go to fields and relationships, and let's check the field. So GitHub ID is the field where I want to populate this field value coming from GitHub, and the right uh, label or the right field name is this one. So we would use this, which is basically the API name. You copy this and you just go inside your scripting. You just write entity dot, which is this, and then equals, and anything that's coming from replica. So for the replica, it was just replica.key. If you compare it again with the entity sync status, if you remember, it was just the key tag that we got. It could be different for other fields. So for example, uh, there is one more field that I created was for the GitHub status. So my bad. Let me go back and let's copy this one as well. So you do this, and in this case it would be replica.status.name. Why? Because in the payload you get the status value in the name tag. So you use these fields, you map them, you publish and publish the connection again, and let's do a quick test again. So again added comment from GitHub. Let's comment this. Awesome. If we go back again on the case, let's see what happens. Let's refresh it. So if you can see here, the GitHub ID field is now populated with 118, and the GitHub status is set to open here because the value that's coming from GitHub is open. Now let's do some more scripting. So it's just a simple example, but then you can map whatever field you want to. Similarly, a proper status to status field mapping can be possible as well. So if we want to synchronize, let's say exactly the status is. So let's say if the GitHub issue gets closed, or if let's say the Salesforce case gets closed, if you want to close the issue on GitHub, that's absolutely possible as well. That is more of an exercise for you all, but that's easy to do that. There is a status synchronization code available. Uh, yeah. So if I do everything in this video, it might become a little boring for you guys. So that's an exercise that you can try. By the way, if you get stuck anywhere here, what you can just do is you can head on to our documentation page, and you can click on this explore Ada button. You can ask Ada any question that is related to Exalate, and Ada would probably take you to the right documentation, or sometimes give you a couple of code snippets uh, for your help. So you can just limit the scope by GitHub and Salesforce, and how to sync, let's say, status in Salesforce, and you just put this question out. Just give it a minute. Ada will search our Exalate database and would give you the right result. So as it says, Ada is still learning. It might make mistakes just like any other AI assistant, but in most of the cases, you get a proper code snippets that you can put on each side. So that is something that you can literally put in the outgoing and in the incoming. Similarly, you can put something for the GitHub as well. Okay. So yeah, that was it. Thank you very much for watching the video. Hope you liked it. Have a nice day ahead. See you. Bye bye.